Paul LaPolice joins us. And Paul, congratulations on the appointment. How did this take us through the process? Was this, been talking a while, kind of a quick turnaround here? Take us through.
Yeah, so it's got a great Saskatchewan story, so I'll throw that in there. So basically, I've been coaching my son's 7-on-7 flag football team this is my second year. So I have some experience in flag. Now, flag is actually on the national side, it's 5-on-5. But I've been coaching it. I've got knowledge of it from last year's coaching. So this offseason, Kevin McDonald at Football Canada reached out to me. We've known each other for years. He's like, hey, could you be on the committee we're hiring our men's coach and our women's coach. I'd like you to be on the committee, help us interview for the next coach. And I said, yes. And sure, no problem. And then I kind of said to him, like 2 days later, I called him like, hey, how do I go to the Olympics? How do I get part of that? And he said, well, you would have to, why don't you apply for the job? And, and I, at one point I was like, okay. So I applied and it's like, there might be better flag football guys than me. I don't know. I know more CFL and this or that. But then I was at the Combine. And I spoke to one of the guys from Football Saskatchewan's good friend, Cody Halseth, who actually played years ago. He played for Team Canada and the Worlds and everything. And so he's got an experience in it. And I told him I applied. And he's like, oh, my God, you'd be perfect for that job. And he gave me some insight that I really hadn't thought about, that eventually there could be some NFL guys coaching that, going to be on the roster, some CFL guys on the roster in a couple of years. So, well, how do we I think with my professional background, that would make sense. So I cleared it with TSN and I said, hey, is it okay if I miss 2 weekends? And then all my teammates, and that's we'll start with Suits, was so fired up to, yep, we'll do a doubleheader. We'll work all weekend, to allow me basically, because I do color also. So I'm not going to be able to do color for 2 weekends. So they have to fill in. So both Dwayne and Glenn have to do a doubleheader themselves, work. So once they got cleared, I was offered the job after I interviewed, and so I talked to the TSN people. I said, no, that's great. And the first call was Glenn Suter. As soon as he knew the schedule, nice. He called, and we had a good conversation. So that's how the process went. It's late in the process for me. So we have an evaluation camp in 2 weeks I'll talk about. So I've been just watching tape every day. I watch the United States play on YouTube, and I'm just immersing myself in 5-man football.
That's what I do. And I coach 14-year-olds at 9. I'd watched USA Italy the other night, and I'm like, ooh, that play, that's a good play right there. So, hey, feel free to stop by in Regina anytime and help me coach these guys.
Well, it is funny you say that, watching that stuff. At first I was just drawing diagrams down, and then I'm like, all right, if I'm going to go ahead and watch all this film, I better draw up a football field. I better have the spacing. I better have the fields. Just like I'm a coach, just like I'm doing in the CFL. And that's the thing I think we want to do, is we want to bring it from ground level to a more professional, do everything at a professional level, whether it's, from playbooks, from evaluations, from rankings. So making sure that we understand that we're competing at the highest level in a couple of years.
Paul, my comment to you is, first off, not only congratulations, but secondly, now obviously you must be a Canadian citizen, because you have to give up being an American citizen, right? Not to go to the Olympics. Do you have to change that?
No, that was one of my first questions. They said, well, no, all the time. You'll have people from other countries come coach in the U.S., or you'll have other people coaching soccer from other areas. And let's face it, guys, I married a Canadian. I've lived in Canada for 25 years, right? I did 3 years in Regina and 10 in Winnipeg. Yeah. So you're right.
Yeah. You're as Canadian as the rest of us. Yeah, you're as Canadian as the rest of us.
I thought for sure you were going to comment on his hairdo.
No, I love the hairdo, though. It's very nice, Paul. Very nice. Yeah. It's a nice finish. I like that. That looks good. Yeah.
Number 0. There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead.
And talk about this identification process you're going to go through. That's the part that interests me the most. How many guys are going to show up? Where are they going to come from? What are you reaching out to players to invite them?
Yeah, so here's what has happened. So before the Football Canada staff has been running evaluation camps, they started, I believe, in January. They've been doing it all spring, and they've been to cities throughout Canada trying to find who they think are the best talent, whether it's in the women's side or the men's side. So now they have a group of at least, I think we're at 35 guys that they target as the top flag football players. And we, in 2 weeks, are at a free agent final evaluation. Yes, I also has been on the phone. So like part of this opportunity for me to say, is anybody listening that, I think we're talking about guys who have high experience of flag football, or CFL, guys who played in the CFL in the last couple of years aren't playing anymore, or guys who played U Sports level that are receivers, defensive backs, that are interested. If you go to Football Canada's website, you can find kind of the link to where we are. We're in Montreal on Thursday, May 22nd through Saturday, May 24th. It's our last evaluation. So you can sign up there, and then we can have conversations, or try to track me down somehow online. But yeah, if you've got some CFL experience, got some U Sports experience, or been a heavy flag. So we're going to bring that 30 down to a group of 12. And we go to the United States in June for a tournament, and then Panama City, Panama in September.
Oh, no linemen needed, I'm assuming. No linemen need apply?
No linemen need apply. Not. I don't want Pat Neufeld or, any of these guys. I don't want Gene Mikowski or Jeremy O'Day to go, hey, Lapo, let me play, right?
I can still run. Yeah.
Scott Schultz or Luke Mullender,
we do have a center, right? We do have a center on the team that snaps it to the quarterback, but he actually has to go out for routes after.
What about Regina boy, who quarterbacked Team Canada, Mason Nias, in Finland, just an unbelievable U Sport career, and then now with flag as well. Where does he land? Do we know anything about Mason?
Well, first of all, Mason, I run a quarterback receiver camp in Moose Jaw usually once a year. And, people in Saskatchewan are so good. We have 100 kids that come every year just for quarterbacks, receivers. Now, Mason was a camp counselor at that years ago, and he might even worked it. Talking to here's what I would say, the hotbeds of flag football are Saskatchewan and Quebec. I've been in talks. Mason, I got off the phone with probably 2 hours ago, and he's gonna help me in a certain number of ways on, some of the things, his experience when he was a quarterback and when he played and everything. So we're going to try to do our best that's the cool thing right now. All these people are reaching out to me with a flag background, and, I have a creative offensive background, so I'm starting to get a feel for how I want to run things, but I'm certainly open to listening. And Mason and I just talked for 2 hours. So we'll have more announcements of staffing. Like Joel Lipinski's been really good, who runs Ignite up in Saskatoon. It's been there is a good Saskatchewan component.
Love it. Maybe also they announced the women's coach today. Do you know anything about Rachel Lassard?
That she's done it for a long time as a player and a coach, and been very successful at the University of Montreal. So I'm kind of very looking forward to meeting her, spending time with her, and then, I'm really looking forward to, the beauty of working for TSN is after the football season, I have some downtime compared to being a head coach in the CFL or a coordinator. You have more downtime. So I can December, January, February can really go, okay, what do we want to do from free agent camps and sit down with her and try to sort out what is our, this is a entry-level step. What's our step 1 year from now? And then the next year. And then because we got to get better each year. And the United States, they've won it 5 years in a row. I think they're an incredible team to watch. And, they've been doing it a long time. So we got to catch up to them.
But there's when you watch, I watched Worlds every game last year, and you start seeing, Israel and Italy, Mexico. It is such a different game, right, Paul? And I think, like you said, Regina is such a hotbed. 3,500 kids in the spring league right now that we're all a part of it. It's one of the biggest in North America. It's such a different game, though, right? Because you got option plays. You're throwing it underhand. It's wild.
Yeah, and though it's neat you say that because there's so many, and it goes from team to team. So if you put the Italy team on, how they run their offense is totally different than anybody else. And the U.S. runs 2 quarterbacks almost the whole game. So like they can snap it back to another guy who can run or pass. And one of the teams, they just throw it up to their big guy. So it's very interesting for me to go through and start, going, okay, this is how I'm going to call these formations. This is how I can use creativity. Now, to talk about the Canadian Football League and tout the best parts of the CFL, I do think we're going to be able to motion and move and create some problems for teams that maybe they haven't seen as much because of the ability to use motion in our league. Now, I can't motion 3 guys. I can't motion more guys to line of scrimmage. I can only motion 1. But I think we do have good understanding of how to create motion, leverage advantages by motion. So we're going to dig deep into that, and I'm going to be all over trying to work on a playbook and make sure I'm good with all that. And again, I've heard from a bunch of people already, and I've had help from a lot of people. And it's just trying to make sure that I can understand how to teach the quarterback stuff too. And yeah, so we're looking forward to it.
It's interesting you focused on the offense, but critically, there's another part of this game, and that's the defense and the defensive backs. What's different for them? What's different for the defense that you have to coach and teach?
So here's some interesting things. Like part of my process as the head coach, and this is one of the things I've already kind of talked to the staffing people we're talking about, is I want to integrate as much of, I'm not talking coverages compared to the CFL, but just identification and terminology, if this makes sense, guys. Okay. So, corners are corners in any level of football. But like at the flag level, everywhere I see people call the safeties, they call them safeties. And they're not free safeties. They have 2 safeties. There's 2 corners, 2 safeties, and a rusher in 5-on-5. Well, the safeties sometimes are low, sometimes they're high. Well, in the Canadian Football League, those 2 guys are called halfbacks. And that's the skill set of those guys. The corners, same skill set as a cornerback. But, I'm trying to, so we've already kind of started saying, all right, well, if a player knows a terminology where the halfback is low and the corner is high, or the safety is low and the corner, in the Canadian Football League, a lot of teams call that hold. It's a form of cover 3 called hold. Well, I said, let's turn our terminology to U Sports, CFL terminology. So that way, when we talk to when a coach says, hey, I got a kid who could be great on your flag program, somebody calls me or the other coaches, well, what position? Well, he's a halfback for us. Bang. We know, he fits in our role as a safety. Instead of saying, well, we have safeties, this is the left safety, this is the right safety. These are 2 halfbacks. If we call cover 2, which is played up in flag a lot, all right, we're 2 double cut. Well, there's 3 double cut in the CFL and everybody runs it, right? You guys watched Chris Jones run it all the time back in the day, and you yelled he never blitzed because he's playing 3 double cut. Well, at least we are in a world where we can go, oh, the corners are low players. So I can teach a kid who played corner at University of Regina, hey, this is cut and carry cover 2 to you. So we're trying to do our best to make sure we're aligned from the high school level, the college level, to the pro level. So that's just from a terminology. I'm not telling, like the guys I've been talking to on defense, I'm not telling you how to play coverage up here. You guys have been doing it way longer than me. I'm just saying, let's use this terminology so we're all on the same page all the way through. And that's a Canadian thing because we want to represent Canada. And it's kind of cool because I'm also coaching my son's team, and we don't really, we play, like there are certain things we need to do that at this level to make it match what's coming in the next couple of years. Like, so we you always want it to be every level up, the consistent and same. So we all get better.
I could sit here. I literally talk for 2 hours about this.
He's like a big sponge beside me. He's just soaking it all in.
Massive sponge for sure. Paul, thanks so much for doing this again. Okay. So when you're gathering, when are the dates again?
Time. Yeah. So if you can get to Montreal, Thursday, May 22nd, Friday the 23rd, and Saturday, we have about 5 practice days or 5 practices over the course of those 3 days. you can register online at Football Canada, and they will reach back out to you. Like we said, we're trying to get the last couple spots. That number will drop to 12. We'll pick 12 players that will go in June to LA, in September to Panama City, Panama.
It just sounds like a good excuse to go to Crescent Street and have a few pints if you're asking me. I don't know. Paul, let's catch up again after that and then keep this on. And then you obviously, Glenn Suter's a massive flag fan as well. So we're really excited about this big flag country over here. And when you're in town, we'll have to maybe chat.
Yeah, I'm doing a couple. I think I do 3 games of color out there, so I'll be out. I'll see you guys a couple times this year.
Right on. Have a good day, Paul. Thanks. So
Thanks,
congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Good job.
Cheers.
Right on.